Thank you, Administrator.
Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Murkowski. Mr. Administrator, great to see you and your team here today. And let me start with a thank you. I want to thank you and your team for keeping me and my team regularly apprised of the progress on the implementation of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. As you know, this has been something I've worked on for well over a decade, starting during my time in the House of Representatives with what was then called the Green Bank. Senator Markey and I then introduced the National Climate Bank legislation. It's been called the Clean Energy Accelerator. We're pleased to see the President embrace it. And now, obviously, we're in the work of implementation, which is absolutely critical that it be successful. So thank you for those consultations. I just want to affirm that we're on the same page with respect to the goals. Number one, to achieve the greenhouse gas emissions that were allocated a target for this particular fund. Number two, to ensure it has a multiplier effect. I mean, the idea is that this will be matched by private sector and other funds so that we have up to a 5-time multiplier effect. That would ensure sustainability, which is another key factor. This is not a pot of money for grant funding that we turn around one day and it's all gone. And fourth, and very importantly, that we make sure that the funds are invested to help underserved communities as part of this transition to a clean energy economy. I just want your assurance today that those remain principles that you're committed to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to take this time to thank you and your team. I think but for you and Senator Markey and others, we wouldn't have this significant opportunity. $27 billion is a lot of money. But in the full scheme of things, it's not a lot of money, and we need to have that multiplier effect. We need to be sure that we are putting programs in place that can be leveraged by those who invest, as their day jobs, right? And we also want to be sure that every single person in this country benefits from it. So we share those goals, and we have enjoyed the conversations with your team. Our product is better because of those conversations.
I appreciate that, Mr. Administrator. And as you know, my view is that this can be most effective by creating, at most a few national networks that have to be national in scope, that include, existing green banks, but also include CDFI and other lenders. We want to make sure that it has that ability to coordinate, because we do want to be able to, come to you a couple years from now and say, hey, how are we doing in terms of our greenhouse gas emission reductions goal? How are we doing in terms of meeting our goal of ensuring low-income communities are participating in the transition? And I think that is much better achieved by having at least a national network that's coordinating all of this. Let me, just another thank you, because for years Maryland worked to try to get the EPA to adopt the air pollution good neighbor rule, because we receive lots of air pollution transiting from other states into our air and into the Bay. So just a thank you for having moved forward on that. Let me talk briefly about the Back River wastewater infrastructure. As you know, the Maryland senators and our congressional delegation from Baltimore objected to the proposal to transfer some of the wastewater from the East Palestine derailment through the Back River plant in Baltimore. And I'm glad that that plan did not go forward. The reason we objected, as you know and your team knows, is that because Back River plant has had a history of problems, chronic problems itself, and we didn't want to take any additional risk that more pollution would enter our waterways as a result of that contaminated water from Palestine. That said, we are continuing to work on Back River, and obviously the funds in the bipartisan infrastructure bill for the revolving fund are important. But just ask for your commitment today, Mr. Administrator, that you work with us on Back River, because that has had a series of problems, and we want to make sure we work in partnership with you and your team to correct them.
Absolutely. You have my commitment, and our team has been paying close attention to that. I've actually talked with Assistant Administrator Rodica Fox about that particular facility. So you have our commitment.
Thank you, because it's an ongoing project, as you know. Let me now turn to the Chesapeake Bay and the EPA program. Very gratified to see that the administration requested the full authorization of $92 million. This has been an ongoing and urgent priority for our region, and I would argue very important for the country as well as the nation's largest estuary. I am also pleased with the current proposed settlement to the lawsuit that was brought to ensure enforcement of the goals to clean up the bay. As you know, unfortunately, we are falling short of the targets. We had a plan to try to achieve the reductions in what we call the total maximum daily load into the bay by 2025. We are not hitting that target. Everyone sees that. It is vital that we reestablish aggressive pollution reduction targets and dates. And I do think that this proposed settlement, which I expect will be finalized shortly, will help accomplish that. But if you could just comment on why this is important. This is a multi-state, you know, the Chesapeake Bay, obviously, its watershed encompasses multiple states, including Pennsylvania. There's no secret that we've been very concerned about pollution coming down the Susquehanna River. Part of this settlement is designed to address that through greater enforcement. Can you talk about EPA's commitment to making sure that this settlement is enforced, assuming it goes forward?
Well, absolutely. I'll say that I proudly serve as the current chair of the Chesapeake Bay Executive Council, and have been enjoying the engagements and look forward to engaging this multi-state body. You know, if once the settlement is achieved, and hopefully we will get the resources we're requesting in this budget, I believe that we can effectively execute on the settlement, but also enhance our engagement with our agriculture community and others who are contributing in a negative way to the Chesapeake Bay. I think we also had a meeting where we needed to recalibrate those 2025 goals. So I'm committed. I'm chairing this executive council. I'm committed to recalibrating the 2025 goals, and I'm committed to bringing us all together to ensure that we restore the health and vibrancy of the Chesapeake Bay.
Mr. Administrator, thank you. Music to my ears. It requires resources, yes, but it also requires a political commitment from the federal government and EPA. So